As a teacher and a mother, Kathy is a free, fulfilled human being. She's able to pull her weight in the partnership that is marriage. In a modern partnership, the rights and privileges, like the duties and responsibilities, are better balanced when they're equal. Frank is a businessman, practical, responsible, sensible. He thinks of things in terms of cause and effect. As a modern, he even thinks about marriage that way. Years ago, the marriage deal worked if the husband was sober and brought home the paycheck every week, if the wife was faithful and produced a house full of children. Frank knows it doesn't quite work that way anymore. He's shrewd about people, meets a lot of them in the course of his business day. He knows a lot of happily married couples, but he also knows the divorce rate in America. Marriage is like a car, Frank says. To keep running smoothly, it's got to keep getting the fuel that makes it start and go in the first place. People have to go on liking each other in order to live together. The man has to be able to ask, is this a good thing for me, for her, for the child? And the answer has to be yes, at least pretty good, for all of us. If young people could look into the minds of modern couples, how would they find that question answered? What are the positive values that go with the jokes about the ball and chain? What does marriage mean to the people who live it day after day?
Companionship, belonging. It's hard to hit on the right word, but that's most important in marriage. For me, anyhow. Yes, companionship, but not just being with another person. Phil is very much a gal, and these bars are like going on a date, with the companionship angle added. It's mornings like this, getting up when it's still cool, feeling alone, and yet not quite alone, not lonely. This has always been my way of combing out the tangles I get myself into. And she used to go into these woods with her dad when she was a kid. So you couldn't get a better team, for the chores and for the fun. When I first met her, we found we kind of liked the same things, as well as liking each other. Sure, we'll argue about where the fish are biting today, but we can settle it without anger or a feeling we're each giving in to the other. It's fun just being with her. She can take tough breaks without getting fussed. If the sun isn't shining, we can usually fix our troubles with a laugh. Often Phil and I don't have to say anything, and we know what we mean. That comes from being together so much and liking it. That's probably the most wonderful thing of all, that bond of relaxed silence. I can know she's with me without having to touch her or talk to her. We're together, really together. Maybe I do take a little more responsibility than I would if I'd gone out with Jack or Willie. So what? To tell the truth, I get a kick out of it. The old business of being the man of the house, making believe we're tougher or something. But it makes you feel good anyhow. There's a lot of things like that I've started to do since we decided to go it together. Trying to understand her crazy notions, having patience and encouraging her when she's low, really respecting her for the terrific gal she is. It's not always easy. I've got my own problems, but it sure pays off. And not only with her. By wanting to give her those things, I've learned how to give them to other people. The better I am with her, the better I am with the gang in the office. It gets to be a habit, I suppose, this husband business.
I like Frank. I like liking him. I feel good way down inside when he's buzzing around nearby. Whether he's gay or tired or just busy old Frank like now. I feel warm and cozy. When I like someone completely, without reserve, I find I like myself. I'm happy. We're all a little like that, I guess. I can see it in Frank, the way he fusses over the house, or the tone of his voice when he talks to Buddy. It's fun to like. Frank isn't the handsomest man in the world, or the cleverest, but he won't ever make me ashamed of liking him. Life isn't perfect. Sometimes when I want to stew quietly, Frank's need for action is a nuisance. But it doesn't last long. On the other hand, there are lots of things that interest me that he won't talk about because he finds them highbrow. We're different, but in the things that count, we never really get far from each other. I sometimes think I can see our love in Buddy, in his eyes, in his smile. It's in the air that eats. Love can be a good, healthy diet, in spite of what they say about not living on it. For growing kids, I think it's more important than vitamins. It's not bad for young women approaching middle age either.
She's always talking about getting old. Every new wrinkle, every gray hair. To tell the truth, she looks better to me every day. Kathy was always good looking. But since Buddy was born, something has happened to her looks. More peaceful, sweeter, realer. Sure, I've thought about it. Every married man does. I've tried to figure out why we don't get bored with each other the way people in novels seem to do. Naturally, we're getting older, but I don't notice it. Not in her. Not in me as far as she's concerned. As long as things stay the way they are, I'm a happily married man. Yes, it may be different from the movie version, but the gal at home is the gal I go for, and not just as wife or companion or mother of my kid. I mean gal, and after 5 years I want to touch her and kiss her and hold her in my arms. And maybe that's funny, but it's also wonderful. Maybe it's just because we've played it straight. I'm not kidding her, and she's not holding anything back. The more we're together, the more we like each other. When the first romantic fever was over, we didn't give up and try finding it somewhere else. We looked at each other instead, clearly, as we really were, and we liked what we saw. Kathy doesn't need pink ribbons or a phony halo to make her look good, nor do brains and strength make a pretty girl any less feminine. The guy that prefers a pretty gal to a beautiful woman has got an awful lot to learn.